China, Chinese, Pinyin, Zhonghua, officially the People's Republic of China, PRC, I, is a country in East Asia. With a population exceeding 1.4 billion, it is the world's second most populous country. China spans the equivalent of 5 time zones and borders 14 countries by land, J, with an area of nearly 9.6 million square kilometers, 3,700,000 square miles. It is the third largest country by total land area. K, the country is divided into 22 provinces, L, 5 autonomous regions, 4 municipalities, and 2 semi-autonomous special administrative regions. Beijing is the national capital, while Shanghai is the most populous city and largest financial center. The region has been inhabited since the Paleolithic era. Early Chinese dynasties, such as the Shang and the Zhou, emerged in the basin of the Yellow River before the late 2nd millennium BCE. The 8th to 3rd centuries BCE saw a breakdown in Zhou authority and significant conflict, as well as the emergence of literature, philosophy, and historiography. In 221 BCE, China was unified under an emperor for the first time, where appointed non-hereditary officials rules counties instead aristocracy, ushering in more than 2 millennia in which China was governed by imperial dynasties, including the Qin, Han, Tang, Yuan, Ming, and Qin. With the invention of gunpowder and paper, the establishment of the Silk Road, and the building of the Great Wall, Chinese culture, including languages, traditions, architecture, philosophy, and more, flourished and has heavily influenced East Asia and beyond. In 1912, after decades of struggle, the monarchy was overthrown and the Republic of China, ROC, was established. Despite ultimate winning in the Second Sino-Japanese War, as a part of the World War II, numerous atrocities such as the Nanjing Massacre torched the land. The Chinese Communist Party, CCP, fought Kuomintang-led government on and off since 1927, and in 1949 CCP established control over most of ROC's territory, and the Kuomintang fled to Taiwan. The country is split, with both sides claiming to be the sole legitimate government of China. Early communist rule saw 2 major projects: the Great Leap Forward, which resulted in a sharp economic decline and massive famine, and the Cultural Revolution, a movement to purge all non-communist elements of Chinese society that led to mass violence and persecution while its military became involved in the Korean War. Economic reforms that began in 1978 moved the country away from planned economics, but political reforms were cut short by the 1989 Tiananmen Square protests and massacre. Economic reform continued to strengthen the nation's economy in the following decades while raising China's standard of living significantly. China is a unitary one-party socialist republic led by the CCP. It is a founding member of the United Nations, UN, and one of the 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council. It is a founding member of several multilateral and regional organizations such as the AIIB, the Silk Road Fund, the New Development Bank, and the RCEP. It is a member of the BRICS, the G20, APEC, the SCO, and the East Asia Summit. Making up around 1/5 of the world economy, China is the world's largest economy by GDP at purchasing power parity, the second largest economy by nominal GDP, and the second wealthiest country, albeit ranking poorly in measures of democracy and human rights. The country is one of the fastest growing major economies and is the world's largest manufacturer and exporter, as well as the second largest importer, although its economic growth has slowed greatly in the 2020s. China is a nuclear weapons state with the world's largest standing army by military personnel and the second largest defense budget. China is a great power, a regional power, and is widely considered to be a potential superpower. The word China has been used in English since the 16th century. However, it was not used by the Chinese themselves during this period. Its origin has been traced through Portuguese, Malay, and Persian back to the Sanskrit word China, used in ancient India. 17. China appears in Richard Eden's 1555 translation, of the 1516 Journal of the Portuguese explorer Duarte Barbosa, n. 17. Barbosa's usage was derived from Persian China, which in turn derived from Sanskrit China. 22. China was first used in early Hindu scripture, including the Mahabharata, 5th century BCE, and the Laws of Manu, 2nd century BCE. 23. In 1655, Martini suggested that the word China is derived ultimately from the name of the Qin dynasty, 221 to 206 BCE. 24. 23. Although use in Indian sources precedes this dynasty, this derivation is still given in various sources. 25. The origin of the Sanskrit word is a matter of debate. 17. Alternative suggestions include the names for Yalang and the Jing or Chu state. 23. 26. The official name of the modern state is the People's Republic of China, Simplified Chinese, Traditional Chinese, Pinyin. Zhonghua Renmingang Haiguo. The shorter form is China, Zhonghua, from Zhong, central, and Gua, state, a term which developed under the Western Zhou dynasty in reference to its royal domain. It was used in official documents as a synonym for the state under the Qin. 29. The name Zhonghua is also translated as Middle Kingdom in English. 30. China is sometimes referred to as mainland China or the mainland when distinguishing it from the Republic of China. Archaeological evidence suggests that early hominids inhabited China 2.25 million years ago. 35. The hominid fossils of Peking man, a Homo erectus who used fire. 36. Have been dated to between 680,000 and 780,000 years ago. 37. The fossilized teeth of Homo sapiens, dated to 125,000 to 80,000 years ago, have been discovered in Fuyan Cave. 38. Chinese proto-writing existed in Jiahu around 6600 BCE. 39. At Damati around 6000 BCE. 40. Dadawan from 5800 to 5400 BCE, and Banpo dating from the 5th millennium BCE. Some scholars have suggested that the Jiahu symbols, 7th millennium BCE, constituted the earliest Chinese writing system. According to Chinese tradition, the first dynasty was the Xia, which emerged around 2100 BCE. 41. The Xia dynasty marked the beginning of China's political system based on hereditary monarchies, or dynasties. 42. The Xia dynasty was considered mythical by historians until scientific excavations found early Bronze Age sites at Erlatur in 1959. 43. It remains unclear whether these sites are the remains of the Xia dynasty or of another culture from the same period. 44. The succeeding Shang dynasty is the earliest to be confirmed by contemporary records. 45. The Shang ruled the plain of the Yellow River in eastern China from the 17th to the 11th century BCE. 46. Their oracle bone script from c. 1500 BCE. 47, 48, represents the oldest form of Chinese writing yet found, 49, and is a direct ancestor of modern Chinese characters, 50. The Shang was conquered by the Zhou, who ruled between the 11th and 5th centuries BCE, though centralized authority was slowly eroded by feudal warlords. Some principalities eventually emerged from the weakened Zhou and continually waged war with each other during the 300-year spring and autumn period. By the time of the Warring States period of the 5th to 3rd centuries BCE, there were 7 major powerful states left. 51. The Warring States period ended in 221 BCE after the state of Qin conquered the other 6 kingdoms, reunited China, and established the dominant order of autocracy. King Zheng of Qin proclaimed himself the emperor of the Qin dynasty, becoming the first emperor of a unified China. He enacted Qin's legalist reforms, notably the forced standardization of Chinese characters, measurements, road widths, and currency. His dynasty also conquered the Yu tribes in Guangxi, Guangdong, and northern Vietnam. 52. The Qin dynasty lasted only 15 years, falling soon after the first emperor's death, as his harsh authoritarian policies led to widespread rebellion. 53, 54. Following a widespread civil war during which the imperial library was burned, Q, the Han dynasty emerged to rule China between 206 BCE and CE 220, creating a cultural identity among its populace still remembered in the ethnonym of the modern Han. Chinese, 53, 54. The Han expanded the empire's territory considerably, with military campaigns reaching Central Asia, Mongolia, Korea, and Yunnan, and the recovery of Guangdong and northern Vietnam from Nanuet. Han involvement in Central Asia and Sogdia helped establish the land route of the Silk Road, replacing the earlier path over the Himalayas to India. Han China gradually became the largest economy of the ancient world. 56. Despite the Han's initial decentralization and the official abandonment of the Qin philosophy of legalism in favor of Confucianism, Qin's legalist institutions and policies continued to be employed by the Han government and its successors. 57. After the end of the Han dynasty, a period of strife known as Three Kingdoms followed, at the end of which Wei was swiftly overthrown by the Jin dynasty. The Jin fell to civil war upon the ascension of a developmentally disabled emperor. The 5 barbarians then rebelled and ruled northern China as the 16 states. The Xianbei unified them as the Northern Wei, whose Emperor Xiaowen reversed his predecessor's apartheid policies and enforced a drastic sinification on his subjects. In the south, the general Lu Yu secured the abdication of the Jin in favor of the Lu Song. The various successors of these states became known as the Northern and Southern dynasties, with the 2 areas finally reunited by the Sui in 581. The Sui restored the Han to power through China, reformed its agriculture, economy, and imperial examination system, constructed the Grand Canal, and patronized Buddhism. However, they fell quickly when their conscription for public works and a failed war in northern Korea provoked widespread unrest.
Jack it up.